Gardner Johnson just landed in Baltimore, and he's already making waves, and not the quiet kind. In classic CJ fashion, he didn't sugarcoat anything when asked why he signed with the Ravens. "It was my only option," he said, plain and simple. Now, for some people, that might raise eyebrows or spark questions about his motivation. But if you really look at the situation, it's less about a lack of desire and more about the perfect storm. The Ravens needed him, and he needed them. Sometimes, the most honest answers are the ones that set the tone for something bigger. Let's not dance around the facts here. The Ravens are in a full-blown crisis. Sitting at 1 win and 5 losses, with a critical matchup against the Los Angeles Rams on the horizon, this team is at a crossroads. The defense was utterly humiliated in that 44-10 loss to the Texans. It was bad, and somehow, it felt worse than the score suggests. The Texans not only beat the Ravens on the field, but they mocked them off it too. Behind-the-scenes footage showed Houston players laughing, joking, pointing fingers. It was a full-on clown show at Baltimore's expense. And the worst part? They earned that ridicule. It was a defensive meltdown, and something needed to change. Enter Gardner Johnson, a veteran with a voice, a presence, and a fearless attitude. He doesn't play quiet. He talks, he chirps, and more importantly, he holds people accountable. That's exactly what Baltimore's locker room is missing right now, especially with Roquan Smith sidelined. CJ isn't just a player, he's a live wire. The kind of guy who, whether he plays 1 snap or 100, makes his presence felt. And according to early reports, he's already getting involved with teammates, making strong first impressions, and starting to shake things up behind closed doors. Now, sure, the only option, comment might sound like he's settling. But the reality is, the Ravens are a team desperate for a spark. Their secondary has been out of sorts, disorganized, and frankly, soft. Gardner Johnson brings fire. He brings that edge that forces guys to wake up and pay attention. He might be a risk. No one's denying that. But he's the kind of risk that can change the energy of an entire defense if it works. And for a team this deep in the hole, those are the kinds of swings you have to take. And here's the thing. CJ isn't some washed-up vet hoping to hang on. This is a guy who led the league in interceptions not too long ago. 6 picks with the Eagles. That's not nothing. He's got ball hawk instincts. He reads the game well. And he isn't afraid to stick his nose into traffic. Even better, he can help free up Kyle Hamilton. One of the biggest issues right now is that Hamilton's being asked to do too much. With Gardner Johnson in the mix, the Ravens can finally start putting Hamilton in better positions to succeed instead of having him babysit a broken secondary. But it's not just personnel issues. The play calling under defensive coordinator Zach, or has been, let's just say, questionable. There's no identity, no rhythm. The coverage looks confused. Safeties are playing 35 yards off the line of scrimmage. Receivers are running free underneath. There's no leverage, no communication, no accountability. You don't need to be a football savant to see it. Something is broken in the structure of this defense, and the coaching staff hasn't found the glue. And that's where a guy like CJ can step in and start putting pressure on people. Not just opponents, but teammates too. He's the type who calls you out in the locker room if you're slacking. He's the one who's going to be loud, who's going to let you know if you're not giving 100%. Sometimes, that kind of energy is exactly what a struggling defense needs. Someone who doesn't care about ruffling feathers. Someone who just wants to win, and knows how to win ugly. The Ravens don't need quiet leadership right now. They need someone to light a fire. And CJ? He's a walking spark plug. Whether this move turns into a long-term solution or flames out in spectacular fashion, it was a shot worth taking. And look, Gardner Johnson isn't alone in trying to stabilize this backfield. Young guys like Malachi Starks are still finding their footing. Starks admitted himself that he's overthinking things, playing hesitant. That's typical for a rookie, especially when you're thrown into a defense that's clearly not in sync. That's where veterans matter. That's where leadership becomes more than just a slogan on the wall. It becomes action. CJ has been around. He knows what it looks like when defenses click, and more importantly, when they don't. That experience could be gold for a group this shaky. Meanwhile, the Ravens made a bold move by trading away Odafe Oweh, a clear message that performance matters and patience is running out. Oweh wasn't getting it done. Now, names like Tavius Robinson, Trenton Simpson, and Adisa Isaac will have to step into bigger roles. It's a lot to ask, but the pressure's on. Especially Simpson, who's shown flashes of that sideline-to-sideline athleticism that made him a standout at Clemson. If he can tap into that pass-rushing potential, it could be the unexpected jolt this defense needs off the edge. But none of this will matter if the offense can't stay on the field. And unfortunately for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's status doesn't look promising. No practice. No signs of a quick return. All signs point to Cooper Rush starting against a Rams defense that's ranked top 10 in both pass and run defense. And this isn't just any defense. They get pressure without blitzing. That means you don't have time to wait for plays to develop. You need quick reads, faster decision-making, and even better blocking up front. Something the Ravens have seriously lacked. Cooper Rush is a different beast than Lamar. He's not going to bail the offensive line out with his legs. He's not going to extend broken plays and pull magic out of chaos. That's not his game. He's more methodical, more dependent on the system. And against a Rams front that punishes hesitation, the margin for error shrinks fast. You can't afford to start drives with run plays that go nowhere or penalties that back you up. You've got to be sharp on first down, get into manageable situations, and keep drives alive. It's possible we see some Tyler Huntley packages sprinkled in, maybe a few plays to add mobility, but this is going to be Cooper Rush's game to lose. And that makes the role of the defense even more important. If they don't show up, this game gets out of hand quickly. That's where Gardner Johnson can make an impact from day one, not just as a player, but as a tone setter. If this Ravens team wants to claw its way back into relevance, it starts with finding its defensive identity. Because right now, it's nowhere to be found, and the clock is ticking. The pressure cooker in Baltimore is hissing louder with every passing week, and this matchup against the Los Angeles Rams is shaping up to be one of those defining moments in the season. On one side, you've got a Ravens team hanging on by a thread, riddled with injuries, inconsistencies, and identity issues. On the other, a Rams squad licking their wounds after fumbling a winnable game against San Francisco. Both teams are walking into this game hungry, desperate, and on edge. And if that wasn't enough to raise the stakes, Rams defender Jared Verse decided to throw gasoline on the fire with one simple message. He wants Lamar Jackson on that field. Badly. Jared Verse made it known that sacking Lamar Jackson is on his bucket list. He didn't mince words. If Lamar doesn't play, he said he'd be furious. And yeah, that's the PG version of his quote. He name-dropped guys like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, but you could tell Lamar was the one he really had circled. Now, there's a weird irony in the fact that probably every Ravens fan feels the exact same way. If Lamar doesn't play, people are going to be furious. But for entirely different reasons. The harsh reality is that all signs point to Lamar sitting this one out. He didn't practice again, and with a bye week on the horizon, it just makes too much sense for the Ravens to hold him back and give him the extra time to fully recover. So yeah, Jared Verse might be disappointed, but the Ravens are playing the long game, and they have to. The risk of pushing Lamar back too soon isn't worth it. This team needs him for the stretch run, not just a regular season game in early October. So that leaves the offense in the hands of Cooper Rush. And look, there's a lot of noise about the money Baltimore gave to him as a backup. People question the fit, the style, and whether he can run the offense that's built around Lamar. And the answer, quite frankly, is no, not the same way. The playbook shrinks, the margin for error gets smaller, and the dynamic element disappears. That's not to say Rush is incapable. He had moments early in the Texans game that showed poise and control. But when the offensive line collapses and you can't escape pressure, things fall apart fast. That's what we saw. A QB who, unlike Lamar, couldn't turn a bad snap into a 20-yard gain. That's not on him. It's just the reality of his game. Which brings up Tyler Huntley. He's been in the building, knows the system, and even though he might not be the better pure passer, he fits the mold of the Ravens' offense more closely. There's speculation that he could be used in packages, maybe short yardage situations or read option looks, just to throw the defense off balance. But don't expect him to take over. This will be Rush's game to start and, likely, to finish. Now, if you're the Ravens, you've got to find ways to help Rush out. That starts with winning early downs. 1st and 10 has been a disaster this season. Too many negative runs, too many penalties, and too many blown protections have left Baltimore in 2nd and long, 3rd and impossible scenarios. You can't survive like that, especially not against a Rams defense that is absolutely brutal against the run and ranked among the league's best in red zone stops and third down efficiency. They don't just stop you, they break your rhythm completely. Derrick Henry hasn't been the same explosive force this year either. Defenses are stacking the box, daring Baltimore to beat them through the air, and the offensive line hasn't been opening lanes. The power run game that used to be the Ravens' bread and butter has looked more like a dry piece of toast lately. And unless the line steps up in a big way, it's hard to imagine Henry turning that around in this game. But there is some positive news. Ronnie Stanley has been upgraded to a full participant in practice. If he's anywhere near his top form, that's a huge boost. Even if he's not, just having a veteran presence at left tackle gives you a chance to stabilize things. Also, Patrick Ricard returned to practice, although he's likely not playing this week. His absence has been felt in the blocking schemes, especially when the Ravens have tried to get creative with motions and tight sets. Guys like Ben Cleveland and Joe Noteboom have rotated in and out, and that lack of consistency has been a killer. Still, no matter who lines up, the mission is clear. Protect the quarterback, stay ahead of the sticks, and extend drives. The Ravens ran just 40 offensive plays last week. That's absurdly low, and it speaks volumes about how disjointed everything is. They're not sustaining drives. They're not flipping field position. They're just stalling. That has to change, and it starts with play calling. The screen game has been predictable, the deep shots are missing, and even basic slants feel forced. You need to let Zay Flowers do what he does best, make plays in space. Get him the ball quickly. Let him work. Same with Rashad Bateman and even the tight ends. Get creative. Be aggressive early. Throw on first down if you need to. Do something, anything, to break out of this rut. And while all that's happening on offense, the defense has to come with a completely different mindset this week. Enough of the soft coverage. Enough of the off-man, sit back and react approach. If you're blitzing and still not getting home, that's a problem. But what's worse is when you're blitzing and playing off coverage, basically giving away the short game. It's a gift-wrapped slant route every time. The corners need to press. The safeties need to creep up. Play aggressive and live with the consequences. Because the alternative, death by 1,000 cuts, clearly isn't working. The Rams have one of the most efficient offenses in the league when it comes to moving the chains. And Matthew Stafford, for all his wear and tear, still knows how to slice up a defense when given time. So the Ravens need to generate pressure, and not just pressure for pressure's sake. It has to be meaningful. It has to result in disruption, sacks, or at the very least, forcing Stafford off his spot. Otherwise, he's going to sit back and pick this secondary apart. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The NFL world is buzzing tonight as sources close to team management report a blockbuster move that could shake up the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens have reportedly finalized a trade with the Cleveland Browns, and in a stunning twist, they are set to acquire star defensive end MYLES Garrett. While neither team has released an official statement yet, insiders suggest that this deal is all but done, and the implications are already sending shockwaves through the league. For months, speculation has swirled around Garrett's future in Cleveland. The Browns' pass rusher, known for his explosive first step and relentless motor, has been the cornerstone of their defense, but rumors of internal friction and potential contract disputes have fueled trade chatter. Now, it seems Baltimore has moved decisively to add one of the game's premier defenders to their roster, signaling an aggressive push to dominate their division. Ravens fans, who have long cherished their team's defensive identity, are already imagining what Garrett could bring to M&T Bank Stadium. His ability to collapse the pocket, chase down quarterbacks from the edge, and generate turnovers could instantly elevate a Baltimore defense that has been solid but not elite in recent seasons. Analysts are pointing out that pairing Garrett with the Ravens' existing front seven talent could create one of the most feared defensive lines in the league, capable of changing the course of games with a single play. On the Browns side, questions remain about what the trade package entails. Sources hint that Cleveland may have received a combination of draft capital and key roster pieces, signaling a potential rebuild or shift in philosophy. Fans in Ohio are understandably torn. While losing a player of Garrett's caliber stings, The long-term strategy could set the team up for sustained success if the right moves are made. As this rumor gains momentum, social media is erupting with reactions ranging from excitement to disbelief. Pundits are already debating how Garrett's presence might alter the Ravens' defensive schemes and whether he could become the face of Baltimore's next championship run. One thing is certain: if the trade is officially confirmed, the AFC North landscape will never look the same, and the coming season promises to be a thrilling spectacle of power, speed, and unrelenting intensity. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.